It's a very good morning. Hello, I'm Gareth Hall and welcome to Thrill of the Chase. This is the show where we talk about the wonderful sport of greyhound racing. Hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday morning. Let's welcome in the team. Molly Haynes, hello to you.
Hello, Gareth.
And Georgie Ferrugia, g'day.
G'day, mate.
There's plenty happening, mate. I know we just had the Melbourne Cup and now we can look forward to the Tab Phoenix, and we'll talk about the Tab Phoenix a lot during this show today, but it's not far away. The $1.1 million race, it's the first ever running of the Tab Phoenix in just under 2 weeks' time, and it's greyhound racing's first ever slot race.
Can't wait. And the field's just starting to get finalised now, isn't it? So we'll know a lot more. And of course, we've got the box draw next week, which will tell us a lot.
And there's plenty happening today, Molly. I'm looking forward to you catching up with one of my favourite greyhound trainers, and Ian Garland, because he is a fascinating character.
He is. I thoroughly enjoyed my time out there with Ian, got to meet a few of his greyhounds, and it was just, he's just one of those people that you get along with. And he's just great fun.
No, he's a ripper, Ian Garland. You can watch that interview, of course, in at the second segment. But let's see what's coming up here on the Thrill of the Chase this morning. It's another busy show. Now, this will be fascinating. George and Molly's all-time Phoenix field. We'll explain how you're going to do that a little later. Ray Thomas, who's one of the great guys of racing. He's the chief racing writer and the chief racing editor for the Daily Telegraph. He's just going to explain the impact, say, the Everest had on thoroughbred racing and what he expects Greyhound's new slot race to have on this sport. And tell us about your feature story this week, Molly.
We had the opportunity to go down and spend some time with Tracey Deglaitis and her family, in particular her daughter Ebony. They just proved that you don't have to be winning group races to have success and enjoy our sport. It is just a heartwarming story. They went through a bit of hardship not too long ago when the greyhound community really got around them, and it's a tearjerker. It's a special one.
Looking forward to that yarn. Georgie, greyhound to follow. Can't wait for that as well. A lot of pressure on you these days.
Oh, absolutely.
My mum said, "What's Georgie's greyhound to follow?" there yesterday.
Come on.
And I said, I'll make sure I find out today, Mum. You're going to be watching. Let's get stuck into this agenda here. And we're going to kick off the show with Molly and George's greatest ever Tab Phoenix field. Now, you might be saying, Gareth, there has never been a Phoenix run just yet. But what we're going to do is think like the slot holders would be competing in this Dream Phoenix contest and pick out the dogs that you think that they would have chosen for the Phoenix and their slot if we had a Dream Phoenix. So we'll start off with one of my favourite organisations, Greyhound Trainers, Owners, Breeders Association of New South Wales. Georgie, who do you think they would have went with?
I think they would have gone with the greyhound called Fernando Bale, who was an absolute...
He was okay.
Yeah, he was just no slouch. We're seeing some vision of him here. Unbelievable speed from the boxes, like we see with some of his progeny, including Koblenz. Still holds the sectional records at the Meadows. He was just a terrific greyhound. So many Group 1s too, Molly.
I think the reason we put him in this field, he was a shoe-in for us. I reckon he was the first greyhound we decided to pick. His early speed, and at the Meadows, that's exactly what it's all about. He's won a couple of Group 1s at the Meadows. He was a part of probably one of the most notable Melbourne Cup races when he was run down by Dinah Double One. But what I also love, it's not just what he's done on the track. I know we're talking about the race, but off the track, his progeny have just ticked over $30 million in prize money. This dog is an absolute freak, and we would have been stupid not to put him in.
So he's won basically $1.3 million. In today's world, how much would he have won?
Yeah, probably touch more if races like the Phoenix were around, for sure. And the only time he probably missed the start was in that Melbourne Cup final, and he still found his way in front on that first corner.
Now, I don't want to be critical here because Fernando Bale would be the first pick, there's no doubt about that, but he's representing the GTOBA. He's trained by Andrea Daly. Would he have qualified for that series, Georgie? Did you think about that?
We're just going on the fact that he was born and bred in New South Wales.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
The Dailies had a satellite kennel in New South Wales during this particular period.
Sometimes you have to stretch the truth to get things over the line.
Well, Greyhound Racing New South Wales did a little bit differently with their slot this time around. They took it to the people and they had a wonderful association relationship with the Daily Telegraph to help them do just that. So if they had to go to the people once again to pick their greyhound, who would be the most popular dog, Molly?
Well, we've gone with Alan Deed, and it's a little bit of an interesting one but he's the Meadows track record holder. That track record has been, I want to say 2012 or 13. Am I around about there?
Yeah.
He's held this record for a very long time. I think he was probably one that people may have put in or put out. But when you've got a track record at a city track like the Meadows for as long as he has, there's a reason.
Well, he's another one that we're seeing through his progeny now. He's the dad of Quara Bale, of course.
Yes.
But look, 29.37 at the Meadows. His run home time that day was absolutely unbelievable. He'll be giving a few of these greyhounds a start, but he'll be powering to the line. That, as he said, that track record has lasted the test of time. There's been a few greyhounds that have got semi-close to it, but nothing like that 29.37. Incredible greyhound, Alan Deed.
Queensland's always been able to produce a pretty handy greyhound throughout the years. And in your dream Phoenix, which Queensland dog have you gone with here, Georgie?
She was arguably one of my favourite greyhounds of all time, Flying Amy.
What made her so special?
Just amazing speed. We're watching her here win the National Sprint Final at Sandown from box 5. She came and kicked our brains in, the Queenslander. She was a multiple track record holder, Gareth, at Albion Park. I think she broke that track record a few times. Multiple Group 1 winner, Hall of Famer, trained by legendary Ron Ball. An absolute star she was, Flying Amy. And she would fit in this field, absolutely, no doubt.
Yep.
So we talk about interstate dogs coming down here to Victoria, and they don't necessarily always stack up. Can Flying Amy stack up over here?
Yeah, well, she did when she came down to Victoria. She was an absolute gun. Wherever she raced, 1 turn, 2 turns, she was an absolute star. And went on to throw a greyhound called Just the Best, who was a great sire himself. So we just continue on.
Look at that record, 59 starts for 42 wins and 10 minor placings.
Oh, she was incredible. And when you talk about prize money, Gareth, what it would be today, she would have probably ticked over the $1 million mark.
WA is a difficult one, I would imagine, to pick out their best ever dog for their slot for a Tab Phoenix, because I think of a couple, and one of the superstars when I was starting to follow the sport of greyhound racing, the greatest I thought of all time. She was like the Mackay diva of greyhound racing at that stage, and her name was Miata. So surely she gets it, Molly.
I have to say, Miata, it was probably my biggest fangirl moment. I think when Miata started racing was when my interest in racing really grew. I always loved the kennel side. I loved the pups, but when we had Miata on the track, when we met her at the kennels, it was just something different. But I didn't put her in the field.
What?
I've put Tommy Shelby in. I have no regrets. I spoke to Paul Stewart. I was confused. I said, Paul, what do I do? What do I do here? And he said Miata would absolutely get him in a match race, but in a field, he would be going Tommy Shelby. So a 500-metre field, I'm going Tommy Shelby. He's won an Easter egg. He's won an Australian Cup at the Meadows. He's won a Hobart 1000. He's won more than $3 million in prize money. He is the dog of WA.
He was the everywhere man, wasn't he? I mean, he travelled all over the countryside. And he had that purple patch around the time where he won the Golden Easter Egg in the Australian Cup, where he was the dominant greyhound and won over $1 million in prize money.
And Steve Withers has done a wonderful job promoting this dog and promoting the sport of greyhound racing. You see his record there, 48 starts for 31 wins, but 10% of his prize money in every victory was donated to a certain charity for that month. And so he was transcending the sport of greyhound racing, especially in his home state of WA. And people, when they think of WA racing, they talk about W. Pike and Gary Hall Jr. in the sport of harness racing over there. And they're on the back pages of the Western Australian. But Tommy Shelby was the dog that helped put greyhound racing on the map. Even if you didn't follow greyhound racing as closely, say, as the other codes or your other favourite sports, he was a champion athlete that drew your attention to the sport of greyhound racing, and the Withers family did an amazing job in promoting the sport through their champion, Georgie.
Absolutely. And the fact that obviously this race is held at the Meadows, he's in a Group 1 winner there, so he would hold his own.
Molly, Ray Borders had a wonderful career in breeding and owning greyhounds, and of course he's got the best dog in the country at the moment in Aston Rupee, but he's had a few other pretty handy ones over the years. So which way do you think Ray would have went?
I think Ray would have gone Aston Rupee without a doubt. Aston DB was a freak in his own right, but I think Aston Ruby has that X factor. He's got something special. He's obviously in this year's Phoenix Field. He's got the track record at Sandown Park. He's won a Top Gun at the Meadows in good time. And he's only going to get better as he continues to go over there. He's still a baby, really.
Yeah, we're watching him break the track record at Sandown, as you mentioned. When speaking to Ray, you can hear the excitement in his voice. He said, I've owned thousands of greyhounds. He goes, this is by far the best. But his willingness to chase so hard. I mean, we've seen that in the Melbourne Cup. He had no luck, but from where he came from, Gareth, it was a terrific victory.
He's got $413,000 at the moment with the prize money that he's earned. He can go past $1 million if he takes out the Tab Phoenix. And he's had the 33 starts, Georgie, 19 victories. He would be in demand when he goes to stud. How long does Ray Border continue to race him for?
I think for a fair while now. There's some really big races on. And remember, next year there's be $2 million chases.
This is a dog who could be winning $3 million,
Yep.
Without a doubt. There he is, and there is that option.
He'll be staying in work then, with all that prize money up for grabs. Sportsbet. Now, we love how Sportsbet have been going about choosing their dog for this year's Tab Phoenix, but they've kept it pretty close to their chest in a way. I think we all know which dog they're going to choose, and we might reveal that a little later on. But they like to choose the dog that they can market, I would imagine. And there's no better dog to market than the dog that you're about to talk about, Georgie.
Yeah, and that dog is Brett Lee, the dog with the great name, named after a famous Australian cricketer. And we're watching him here win the Australian Cup at the Meadows. I was there that night, Gareth. He broke all sectional records and the track record. That was when the distance was at 5:18, not 5:25 at the Meadows. Blinding speed from the boxes, and he defeats a greyhound called Go Wild Teddy, who's the dad of Barcia Bale behind. And that's how good he was. He wasn't just a couple of lengths ahead of the next best greyhound. He just absolutely demolishes this field from a really awkward draw. What a champion Brett Lee was.
Yeah.
You can almost just see the marketing material that Sportsbet would put together for Brett Lee. I feel like they'd have the person involved, they'd have everything. It'd have a very much a cricket theme. It'd be very good to see.
Brett Lee would definitely be involved, there's no doubt about that. So he won an Australian Cup and Adelaide Cup, but the story that I love most about Brett Lee, so that's 38 starts for 30 wins, and we explained it a little bit last week, Georgie, when you were in front of the big screen and we're talking about a litter of pups and what's the process there of trying to pick out the dog that you want when there's about 10 to choose from, and they're jumping all over you and they all come up to you and they're the cutest, and you think, well, I want this one, that one, you've got to make a decision. Now, Brett Lee, they tell me, when the owners, well, they couldn't, no one wanted him. And so when you went out to choose the pups in that litter, he was the dog out in the back corner, and he was just minding his own business, and they thought, oh, I don't know if he really wants to be a competitor or not. He was just mucking around and playing the game, and all of a sudden he was a little bit different, taking it all in. And I think he was purchased for around $3,000, and the rest is history.
It is. It's a famous story. The whole litter were advertised in a greyhound publication, and I think he was the last picked. He wasn't a big dog, and the person who purchased him then on-sold him for about $100,000, I think, and I think set up his family with a house and no mortgage, which back in those days you'd be able to buy a house. Probably not now, but he was a great story, Brett Lee.
He changed the life of a few lives, actually, Brett Lee. Let's have a look what the Tab might do with their slot. And I was thinking about this, and Jared Daffy, Nicholas Quinn and Jason Lincoln would be on the selection table. There's no doubt about that. And I know that they had a favourite, Georgie.
They did.
Yeah.
And this greyhound was a lot of people's favourite, Simon told Helen. The dog with the Roman nose. Absolutely used to light up the Meadows. We're watching him here win a Cup Night sprint at Sandown. I reckon this was the race that put him on the map, Molly, wasn't it? That unbelievable acceleration, and that was his hallmark.
It sure was, but it was eye-catching. It wasn't just, oh, yep, he's fast, he can come out of a box. What he did to that field in such a short amount of time was nothing short of remarkable. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. He passed away last year, but he was an absolute freak. And the nose, he was declared on this show, I think it was our first season, James Vandermeer declared him as the next big thing, and he hit the nail on the head, and that's James's claim to fame.
And just quickly, Gareth, too, we speak about Fernando Bale holding that second sectional record at the Meadows. Simon told Helen was the greyhound that was going to break that record. He got close so many times, and I think trainer Dave Burnett really wanted that record, but what a superstar he was. We're just looking at his record here now, almost reaching the $1 million mark.
Yeah, 48 starts for 26 wins. And a little bit like Tommy Shelby with Steve Withers and David Burnett with Simon Told Helen, they become their best mates. I remember doing an interview with David on RSN as he was heading, I think, to Dapto for their feature race, and he just sat alongside of him and put his head on his lap as they travelled down that Hume Highway. And the connections between dog and trainer, I found the most fascinating part, and about how they spend all this time together and the love that they had for each other. So he was a superstar, Simon Told Helen, and I don't know if Ash Baker is listening, but they should name the back straight at the Meadows the Simon Told Helen back straight. I reckon the Hawk.
Not a bad idea.
He could get that out, I reckon, in 30 seconds.
I like it.
What about the Sports Entertainment Network? Of course, I thought maybe Craig Hutchison, the boss here, probably the greyhound that he backed the most and had success, would be getting this slot. But you've gone for a wonderful stay here, Molly.
We have. We've gone Fanta Bale to fulfil our last spot in our all-time Phoenix field. Yes, she was a stayer, but she also won the Australian Cup. She was a front-running stayer, very similar to Miata. When I was actually looking through this field, I was comparing the times between Miata and Fanta Bale, and she was just that little bit quicker. She was an absolute freak, and I think that she well and truly deserves a Phoenix spot.
People recognise her as a stayer, but she won a St Ledger over 460 metres at Warragul. She won an Australian Cup from box 8, Gareth, where we know it's
impossible, they tell me.
It's not a box that, Aston Rupee wants to draw in a Phoenix out there. She was a star. And she nearly led that field that day. And, she won over 400, 500, 600, 700 metres. She won a Rookie Rebel at the Meadows against arguably the best middle distance field I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What a champion Fanta Bale was.
First dog to $1 million as well, wouldn't she?
Yes.
Yep. So $1.3 million, 63 starts, 42 wins, a superstar there. So I think the Sports Entertainment Network have shot well to get Fanta Bale. Let's have a look at our field. And a little later on, Jared Daffy from the Tab has framed a market for us. I wonder who will start favourite in our dream all-time Phoenix race. There you go. Simon Told Helen, Brett Lee, Tommy Shelby, Ellen Deed, Fernando Bale, Ashton Rupee, Flying Amy and Fanta Bale.
Gareth, we could have a whole show talking about who would lead onto the first corner here. The amount of early speed in that race is incredible.
Time for a quick break here on the Thrill of the Chase. Coming up next, Georgie Farrugia's Dog to Follow, and also our special segment on it, which is called Love of the Dog, and our special guest for that segment this week is Ian Garland. Great to be with you on this Sunday morning. You're watching Thrill of the Chase, and now it's time for Georgie Farrugia's favourite segment, the one to watch. Georgie, which dog have you found this week?
All right, thanks, Gareth. This week we are talking about a greyhound called Levi Bale. So I only had the 4 starts, guys. It's won 2 of those. We're just watching some footage here at Ballarat from box 5. Gets out very, very quickly. 6:47 early split, Gareth, and to the back marker 11.12, which for a young greyhound is very, very fast. So the ability is certainly there. The turn of foot is great. Not sure. We'll see how it goes over 500 metres. Still early doors. This greyhound's by Zambora Brocky out of Kenju Bale. Kenju Bale is a full sister to Fernando Bale, so unbelievably well bred. And as I said, young greyhounds don't necessarily run that quick, around 11:10, low 11 seconds at Ballarat. So it's got a big future, this one.
George, you've thrown us some young ones to look at in the future, to follow along. What are you looking for? How do we look out at home and figure out these ones to watch in our little black books?
Well, for this greyhound, it's mainly the sectionals, because I think that he'll be able to stand up as he goes through the grades. Probably a little bit of pedigree as well, being out of Kenju Bale. She made a Group 1 final herself and, surprise, surprise, was beaten by her brother Fernando Bale, who beat everyone. But probably the sectionals in this regard, because, as I said, that is going very, very fast.
I've jotted him down, Levi Bale.
Levi Bale, mate.
Your dog to follow this week.
Absolutely.
Good on you, Georgie. It's now time for our Love of the Dog segment. And this week it features, of course, Ian Garland. Now, Ian Garland is one of the most fascinating characters in the sport of greyhound racing. He was a champion boxer. He's now the #1 hairdresser in Bendigo. And he's also a very good greyhound trainer. And at the moment, he's got his best ever team, which is headed by the exciting but also challenging Aston Flame, as Molly Haynes explains.
welcome to another segment of For the Love of the Dog. I'm here with Bendigo trainer Ian Garland. Ian, welcome.
Thanks, Molly.
Now, Ian, you've got a very topical greyhound on your hands at the moment in Aston Flame. She is a sister to this star freak, whatever you want to call him, in Aston Rupee. Can you talk me through the story on how you got Aston Flame?
Yeah, she was a very nervous and scared dog and hard to catch at break-in. And the breaker here in Bendigo, Grant Fullerton, he recommended me to have a go with her because we're a small kennel. And yeah, the rest is history, I suppose, yeah.
Now, what you didn't mention then was that she's also broken a track record. Can you talk me through that relationship you've got with her and the trust that you have together for her to be able to really perform on the track?
Yeah, it's pretty special. She was really, really scared. It took me weeks and weeks just to get her to eat a little bit of meat out of my hand. And yeah, it just took such a long time. But now she's really good and she's still frightened of people, but once she gets to the track, it's all business and she just wants to get after that lure.
How have you adjusted your training techniques to allow her to succeed?
I'd just train her how I normally would any of the other dogs. It's just that she's just different around people, that's all, yeah.
Now, Ian, you're not just a greyhound trainer, you're a hairdresser and also pretty handy on the football field. Can you talk me through some of the successes you've had in the past?
Yeah, footy's a long way gone now, but yeah, I was just a good handy country player, and yeah, I played a bit in the league footy for Bendigo and stuff like that, but I was, just a country player.
Now, how do you balance, you've also got a hairdressing business, how do you balance work with your hairdressing business and also the dogs?
I only work part-time now, so I'm actually only working Mondays now, so not working much at all. And yeah, my wife runs the salon now, and I just concentrate on the greyhounds. Greyhounds
are a full-time plus job in themselves. What gets you out of bed? What encourages you to continue to work with these animals?
Oh, I really like them a lot. Yeah, I get attached to them all basically, and all the nice ones anyway. And yeah, I enjoy racing, always have. Like, my grandfather was a bookmaker and he was a greyhound trainer, and I just love the punt and love training greyhounds.
Is there a favourite dog you've had across the years?
Oh, probably Aston Flame, just because I've become so attached to her. So yeah, she'd be my favourite.
Ian, thank you so much for your time. We've really enjoyed learning more about you and what it's taken to get Aston Flame to the track.
No worries, Molly. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great to catch up there, Molly, with Ian Garland. And he's one of our favourites, Georgie, because he trains our draft dog, of course, Hushing Dusk, who's a superstar.
Yeah, ran third in a great chase for us at Big Odds, yeah.
And if you get a dog with Ian, it's a free haircut, they tell me.
that is certainly what you're right. What we didn't quickly mention in that, Aston Flame also won the Northern Districts Cup as well as her track record. So she's certainly a greyhound that we'll continue to enjoy watching.
Yeah, he's a star, Molly. Thanks for that. Now we'll take a quick break. On the other side of it, the chief racing editor for the Daily Telegraph, Ray Thomas. Looking forward to catching up with Ray on this Sunday. You're watching the thrill of the chase on this Sunday morning. The chief racing editor for the Daily Telegraph, Ray Thomas, isn't far away. He's going to discuss the impact he thinks the Tab Phoenix will have on the sport of greyhound racing. But it's now time for our feature story. And greyhound racing has been in Tracey Deglaitis' blood since she was basically born. The love of this amazing animal is what Tracey and her family live for. And as you're about to see, winning a race anywhere is just like winning a Melbourne Cup for this family that adore and love this great game.
53 years ago, I was born into greyhounds. My dad got his first greyhound in the 50s, I think. Just all evolved from there, and being born into them, once you're there, you can't get out. I love every single one of them for a different reason. I have one at the moment called El Cazador. I think he's my favourite. He plays games with me. He's really cheeky. He comes out to get his coat on of a night time, and he pretends that he's all good with that until I get it over his neck. And then he ropes me into going into the bed with him. and he lies down for a belly scratch. And yeah, he's just got plenty of personality. He's beautiful. He's probably, my heart dog.
Her dogs are everything. They're her children. I will say it, she'll kill me for it. She looks after her dogs better than she looks after us.
It fills in your day completely from the minute you get up to the minute you go to bed. Everything's about dogs.
She hasn't been on holidays for probably 25 years.
I don't trust anyone with my dogs at all, only family.
We breed and train and rear our own dogs. They're her everything, basically.
Ebony, she's been involved with them from day dot. She used to go and stay with my parents during the day while I went to work, and she'd be out there mixing up teas and, same as probably Ruby, putting dogs away and doing this and that at 3 years old.
In Year 9, I did work experience at Ballerine Vet Practice, and ever since then I've been there. Being a vet nurse is absolutely amazing. It's very rewarding knowing that you can get patients happy, healthy, and back to their families.
She's been lucky enough to go to King Island for a little dog that she rehabilitated.
I work with Dr. Kim Lim. She got the phone call from a vet in King Island saying, is there anything you can do with this dog? He's been 80 odd days without walking. They sent him over and he stayed with me, did treatments on him every day. My brother went in the pool with him, trying to get him moving. Ruby, my niece, was actually really good, pulling him, trying to get him to walk. Every day he improved. He got home and he was walking, so it was just amazing.
We were coming home from Horsham. It was quite late at night. I seen headlights coming towards us and I said to my husband, Troy, what's this car doing? And I grabbed the steering wheel and I just started to veer off the road, which is lucky I did because he hit us from the side, not head on. The trailer exploded virtually. One dog ran away. Another dog's compartment had completely smashed and he was laying on top of the other dog.
When I got to the crash scene, it was horrific. The trailer basically did not exist.
I rang a friend, Michelle, and asked her if she could come and pick the dogs up, and she went searching for the one that ran away, and it's just unbelievable that they found him.
Not only did my parents lose everything, they lost their car, they lost their trailer, they lost dogs, and those dogs were never the same again, unfortunately. Like, they didn't want to go in the trailer, so they all ended up retiring.
Everyone started to chip in and help. GRV sent us some money through the Helping Hand Fund. Michelle and some friends set up a GoFundMe page for us.
Everyone pulled together and you just realise that it's a big family, basically, the greyhound industry. Everyone helps everyone out.
Be happy just to keep going like we are. If a champion dog came along, I'd take it. It's not a difference to me. A win's a win, especially with a dog that you've bred and reared and done everything with yourself. So I'm happy to just travel along like this.
What a champion Tracey is and her family. It was a great story, Molly.
Yeah, it was. It was a little tearjerker. I think it's everyone's worst nightmare, something happening when you're coming back from the races. And I'm just so glad they came out the other end.
And greyhound racing, like most of the racing industries, all of the racing industries, when someone needs some help, everybody gets behind them, don't they, Georgie?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That was a fantastic story, and they're good little trainers. They get winners. No worries about that.
Well, last Thursday night we had the Queensland Flame. Now this is the race that you need to win to represent Racing Queensland in the Tab Phoenix, and Spotted Elk for Greg Hall, not Greg Hall. G Hall, Graham Hall, I should say. There's too many G Halls these days in racing.
We thought you were going to put your name on it.
I wish I trained Spotted Elk. And Liam Mulroy joins us, of course. He was with us last week and he joins us once again. G'day, Liam. What about Spotted Elk to lead all of the way on Thursday night and book her place in the Tab Phoenix?
Oh, it's just an outstanding win, wasn't it? It turned out basically exactly how we were planning with Spotted Elk. We thought she'd have the speed to punch up from an inside box. That's what she was able to do. Even when Tyann Bell began a little bit better in the two, she was able to utilise that box speed and find the lead. The thing with Spotted Elk as well, once she's in front, she just doesn't get run down. She runs really solid splits all along, coming home in 12.67 at the end. As good as Extra Malt is, and she got in the fourth, and we can see here she was only 3 off the leader, and we know how strong Extra Malt is, but Spotted Elk, gee, she gave a great kick in the straight. Really impressive win, good time as well, and she's booked her ticket to the Phoenix.
Liam, good morning. As you said, she's just a professional, isn't she? She just does the right things. That's probably the type of greyhound you need heading into the Phoenix. She's going to be adaptable when she gets to the Meadows.
Absolutely. I mean, she doesn't come with the boom of some of the Melbourne greyhounds, and that's why you're actually getting, for mine, a really decent price about Spotted Elk at the moment. Her box 1 and box 2 in particular form is outstanding. I think that's where she would need to draw in a Phoenix final, but we've already looked at this Phoenix makeup so far, and of course a bit still to come with the Jason Thompson match race tomorrow, but it doesn't look like there's huge amount of early pressure. So there's no reason why she couldn't lob in the first 2 or 3, and she's just going to keep coming. I think, as I said, if she can draw box 1 or 2, she's in the Phoenix right up to her ears.
Sounds like you've already had something on, Liam.
Look, I thought around that $31 quote at an each way basis, just taking the punt that she does draw well. That box draw is going to be key. There's only 1 or 2 really noted leaders in the race, and we know the Aston Rupees, Billy Creek, Jungle Juice, they're not typically leaders. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they draw, as any big race, but particularly this Phoenix final with so much on the line.
Do you know who she'll be staying with when she comes down here to Victoria for the Phoenix? What will that preparation look like for her, do you know?
Look, I believe she's heading down shortly, and she'll have at least 1 look at the Meadows. I was just reading an article last week. The Halls weren't wanting to get too far ahead of themselves naturally, but you do need to start planning these things just in case. So I think she'll have at least 1, if not 2 looks at the Meadows prior to the Phoenix final, which is only obviously a couple of weeks away now. So I'm predicting whether she has a post-to-post or whether she has a solo out of the boxes, we'll get a good guide as to how she's travelling at the Meadows with whatever she runs down there.
Good on you, Liam. Thanks for joining us here on Thrill of the Chase once again. And Spotted Elk, she'll do Queensland proud. There's no doubt about that. In just under 2 weeks now for the Tab Phoenix. Thanks for your time, Liam.
Thanks, Gareth.
There's Liam Mulry, of course, from Queensland. We'll have a chat about a few of the other greyhounds that have already earned their spot in this year's Tab Phoenix. Straight after this break, and we'll also hopefully catch up with Ray Thomas as well. This is the Thrill of the Chase with Gareth Hall, Molly Haynes and Georgie Ferrugia. Thanks for your company on this Sunday morning. Now, the Tab Phoenix inspiration came from, of course, the success of the Everest in the thoroughbred industry. That was an idea from Peter V'landys and also Racing New South Wales. And we're now joined by the Chief Racing Writer and the Chief Racing Editor of the Daily Telegraph, Ray Thomas, to have a chat about the impact of the Everest and what he thinks maybe the Tab Phoenix can do for the sport of greyhound racing. And Ray joins us now live from Sydney. Good morning to you, Ray. Thanks for joining us on the Thrill of the Chase.
Thanks, Gareth. How are you?
Good, thank you, mate. Just with the Everest, has it exceeded your expectations with how big it's got in the sport of thoroughbred racing?
Oh, most definitely, Gareth. I think when the idea was first sort of flagged around the sport, there was a lot of scepticism and doubt because the concept basically asks for people to invest in the Everest $600,000 per annum across a minimum of 3 years, $1.8 million to purchase a slot. And a lot of us thought, well, who would want to invest that much money in a horse race? You weren't sure if it's going to work, but it didn't take long for those 12 slots to be purchased, so to speak, over that 3-year period. And now if you look at it 5 years down the track, there's so many other people who at first probably didn't want to buy into the concept and now just banging on the door, so to speak, both nationally and internationally. It certainly exceeded my expectations, not only in the take-up of the race initially, but the subsequent popularity of the contest.
Good morning, Ray. We're obviously with the Phoenix, it's still early days, but we're finding that almost non-greyhound people are jumping in and becoming involved in the sport. Is that something that you found with the Everest as well? Not necessarily the racing pundits are the ones that are mostly keen?
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of this concept is that it is different, it is very modern, and it does tend to appeal to a different audience rather than the traditional racing base, whether that be gallops or in the greyhound code. And I think as racing people and particularly racing administrators, there's always been the concern, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so to speak. But I think the sport, like any other sport, needs to progress. It needs to look at all these potential concepts that can possibly bring new people to the sport. Greyhound racing is no different to thoroughbred racing. You always need to look to innovate, look to provide something different, something new. And what this concept has done with the Everest, it has brought a much younger audience to the racetrack. And I go to the races every Saturday, and you can certainly see the difference in those people who attend an Everest race meeting, for example. And I think Racing New South Wales released some figures back in 2019, pre-COVID, when there were over 40,000 people on track at Randwick that day for the Everest. More than 75% of the crowd were under 30. That does not happen on any other day of the racing year.
Ray, what do we have to look forward to as greyhound participants and enthusiasts when it comes to the success of the Phoenix after what's happened with the success of the Everest?
I think that's the very point about bringing a new audience, new potential sponsors, new investors into the sport, and just generally speaking, a new hype around the sport. The Phoenix I'm sure, will do that for the Greyhounds code because it is different. It has got widespread appeal to a different audience. And as I said earlier, I think in any sport, particularly in racing, where it is marginalised and there is so much competition, not only for the gambling dollar, but for the leisure dollar, there's always got to be avenues to innovate and to look to develop the sport. And I'm sure the Phoenix will bring new investors and indeed new participants to the Greyhound code.
Great to catch up with you, Ray. I know you're a busy man, but that's a brilliant insight, and hopefully you'll enjoy this year's Tab Phoenix, mate. Thanks for that.
Thanks so much, Gareth.
There we go. There's Ray Thomas. He is the chief racing editor there at the Daily Telegraph in Sydney. Now, we already had a chat about Spotted Elk, who is representing Racing Queensland in this year's Tab Phoenix after winning the Flame there at Albion Park on Thursday night. Well, Dogs WA have now announced their greyhound, Georgie, after there was a match race last night. And here it is, Vice Grip getting the job done.
Yeah, and look, realistically, the race was over once Vice Grip was able to lead there, Gareth, because we all know this greyhound's strength. Fernando Starr did a terrific job trying to attack on, but Vice Grip has won races over middle distances and he was just too good. So congratulations to Adam Smithson. What a huge thrill for a young trainer in WA, and he has ownership interests in Victoria, so I'm sure they'll be on track on December 18.
Molly, tell us a little bit about Adam.
So Adam is recently involved in, well, he's always been involved in greyhound racing, but he's recently taken up the gong full time. He works out in Nambalup down Greyhound Retreat with his partner and a young child as well. So they're a young family. They're exactly what greyhound racing's all about. He's
done a terrific job, Gareth, because this greyhound for the last couple of weeks has run around the 29.50, 29.60 mark. He's been able to keep him up for a little bit, and he's hoping another couple of weeks to try to claim 750,000.
And that's why Dogs WA and the other jurisdictions purchased a slot in the Tab Phoenix, because it gives an opportunity for one of their young trainers, like Adam Smithson, to change his life if he can win a Tab Phoenix, $750,000 to the winner. Now, Greyhound Racing New South Wales went about it a little bit differently than the other states when they're going about picking their greyhound. They took it to the people. Thanks to the Daily Telegraph, there was a voting system. And the greyhound from Forbes, Molly, was successful. Jungle Juice.
Jungle Juice. Get on the juice with Juice is exactly what they ran with for trainer Jack Smith. And he credits his lovely partner Marie and daughter as well. So they put some hard marketing work behind Juice, as we can see here. He's a wonderful dog. He's been to the Meadows a couple of times. He's going to be trialling next week. And he may even be our For the Love of the Dog segment next week.
I'll tell you what, Gareth, the one thing that Jack will be hoping for is an inside draw, because he's had no luck when he's come to Victoria. We haven't looked after him. He's drawn off the track in heats of the Melbourne Cup. Even in the Top Gun, he had a bad draw. If he can draw closer to the fence, he's a genuine chance in this Phoenix, because he's a very, very talented greyhound. And I think Jack will love the fact that he's got 3 weeks to have a little bit of play around, give the dog a freshen up.
There's a few tipping him in New South Wales as well, and we'll see what price we can get for Jungle Juice when Nick Quinn joins us from the Tab to give us an update on that Tab Phoenix market. We're in the home straight now on the thrill of the chase for this Sunday morning. But at the start of the show, we had our dream ever Tab Phoenix. So basically, if the slot holders could choose their dream dog, which way would they go? And George and Molly put the field together. And George, who would you have favourite?
It would have to be Fernando Bale for me.
What
Absolutely.
price?
It's such a great field. I'd go 350.
Because in the field, of course, we had some of the superstars of the sport: Simon Told, Helen, Brett Lee, Tommy Shelby, Alan Deed, Fernando Bale, Flying Amy, Ashton Rupee, and of course Fernando. So you would have Fernando as favourite as well?
Yeah, Fernando favourite
All right,
for
then
me. I would have gone a bit shorter though than
Yeah,
George.
sure.
I would have gone maybe $2.
Just worried about that early pace, Mike.
Yep. Now, Nicholas Quinn from the Tab's about to join us, and his wonderful colleague up there in Brisbane, who is the number one greyhound man with the Tab, Jared Daffy, was good enough to frame a market for us. And Quinny joins us now. I don't know where he is these days. Hello to you, Nicholas. Where do we find you this morning?
Morning, Gareth. Morning, all. And hopefully we can have a little look at this market, because it's quite fascinating. And I would have had Brett Lee favourite, and that's the way Jared Daffy has gone as well. Maybe a little recency bias kicking in there with your two co-workers, but Brett Lee hits the market. Fernando Bale at $3.50, then Simon Told Helen $6, Aston Rupee a $7 chance. I think you could equal stake, maybe back Brett Lee, back Fernando Bale, watch one of the superstars win the Tab all-time Phoenix and lock in a profit.
I might have something each way on Phantom Bale, because there's a ton of speed into that first turn, and she might just go whooshka. Should be the strongest finisher.
Absolutely. Yeah, the two strongest finishers not loved in the market.
No, I'm quite shocked, but I thought Fanta Bale, I didn't think she would be the least fancied. I thought she would certainly be up there, and I thought Rupee would maybe be ahead of Simon Told Helen too. But Fernando Bale all the way, I reckon. I don't. Maybe it's our youth coming through, George. But
well, your youth.
I got enough for the both of us.
Now, Quinny, what about the actual Phoenix, which is coming up on December 18? Who is the favourite there? Because we've got 5 slots announced, still 3 more to come.
Yeah, and Aston Rupee and Koblenz have both trimmed up throughout the course of the week. Koblenz now a $3.20 second elect. Aston Rupee a $2.40 market leader. On the back of that magnificent Tab Melbourne Cup, though, they do look the two primed to be the two punters want to warm to going into the feature. And the move at longer odds, Jungle Juice, has been $17 into 12 following the confirmation. Jungle Juice will be representing New South Wales, but love the Tab Melbourne Cup, but can't wait to see Koblenz and Aston Rupee do battle once again. And punters anticipate they're the two to beat.
So, Georgie, there's 3 spots still to be announced. Jason Thompson, representing Nicholas Quinn's team with the Tab, will have a match race basically in a trial tomorrow at the Meadows, where True Kalinda takes on Typhoon Semi. So does the winner go through to represent Jason Thompson, or does he still make up a decision what he sees from that particular race?
The winner, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the winner, to keep it as fair as possible. And whoever wins, it changes the complexion of the race. If Typhoon Sammy happens to win, all of a sudden the speed map changes a little bit, because at this stage, I mean, Koblenz is not officially announced, but if he was in the field, he's going to lead the Tab Phoenix. And it's just a matter of where a couple of his rivals will be on that first corner.
That will be fascinating to watch that trial there at the Meadows tomorrow. Good on you, Quinny. We'll take a break. I'll see you later, Quinny. Enjoy your holiday, mate.
Thank you very much. See you all soon.
There we go. There's Nicholas Quinn from the Tab. We'll take a quick break on the other side of it, our best bets. It's time for George Ferridge's best bet for this week, George.
I like one at sale tonight. We're gearing up towards the Sale Cup. Race 9, number 2, a greyhound called Invictus Rising, guys. He went there last week and ran 37.16, which is very, very quick for the 650 metres. He's drawn box 2. He's got a tough field against Hank the Hustler, but I think he'll get the job done. Now,
we'll be back next Sunday, but at a new time at 2 o'clock, because we'll be at the live box draw, which will be done a little bit differently from the Meadows for the Tab Phoenix. So can't wait for that.
Yep.
It'll be very exciting.
exciting.
Picking their own boxes.
Yes, that'll be interesting.
Will.
Yep, good on you, Georgie. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching The Thrill of the Chase. We'll catch you next week from 2 p.m.